Okay, I didn't like the original CleanTech Open video I made. I felt it wasn't giving as much information. And this is, although still maybe not enough, this is a collage of a lot of my separate thoughts on the experience. I hope you find it useful, and I'm going to go probably in sections, and I may do some clipping. We'll see how this goes. Alright, first things first, how does the academy run? It runs from 8 in the morning to 5 whatever at night. 6, I think we had one day run to 6. We had a lot of days run to one day run to like 5:45. And then one that was supposed to end around 3, I think went to 4:30 or 5. So they put in a lot of time into this. Now the AV equipment is, they do the best they can, but it's, there's a lot of whistling, a lot of popping. If you get a migraine, it's not terribly enjoyable. But, they do their best. They mix it up. There's like skits, there's game show kind of settings, all just to try and get across information. And some of it is just non-exciting. But, they do their best to try and give a global comprehensive. There's a lot of help with getting your elevator speech. Mine turned out to be, I've got universal chargers located on the highway that are network connected and ad supported. And it took a lot of renditions to get it condensed down to that. That was a useful piece of advice, and I thought that was actually pretty helpful. I watched other people's, you get to watch the evolution of other people's elevator speeches. They thought that was pretty important. Some of the people who write these books that you buy come up on stage and give their spiel. And I like that there's an aspect of honesty from a lot of the people. It's like, well, you're doing this, and if they're not responding in this sort of way, they're not interested, move on. Or, let it hang out there in space and see what's going on. That kind of stuff, where they talk about some history of what they've done, but they also go into, how they would approach things, or how they do approach things, and I think that's beneficial. The first day I was feeling a little, I'll be honest, on the first day I was feeling a little bit like, and this was after the exhibit, after driving, but I was feeling a little bit like, this better get better. I was like, now they stick you on tables with which you're a cohort group, but there's really no cohesion there. You're put into different tables each day. The people may or may not talk to you. There can be networking, but you have to do it. You have to be the initiator. A lot of people don't know how to network. A lot of people aren't motivated to network. So if you are a type of company where you're dependent upon having multiple sources of people doing multiple things, this is an opportunity to network. And you have to do it in such a way that you can, because there's breaks. There's a break in between the classes, there's a break to get snacks, and there's one social event, and there's, I think, the first evening where they have, again, so-so food and I guess alcohol and sodas out by different areas. So if you're in one region, you're all out by the pool. Another region, you're on another section, which I wasn't at in another section. It's cool. I mean, it's like any other networking function. You're not going to find astounding differences. The thing that you're really looking at is you're trying to get to understand, A, what the judges might be looking for, and by extension, what investors might be looking for, and how to better run your company, and B, what is the makeup of the people in your general region, and what kind of people are out there trying to do things and get stuff done. Okay, in this section, one of the things that was useful, that was actually worth, at least on the surface, worth some of the money that was laid down to go to this thing, is that you get to have VCs brought in captivity, if you will. And so they come in. Now, there's a very large perspective of VCs that, and let's clarify something right here. Angel investors, for the most part, are basically VCs, but at a smaller level of cash donation. Not even donation, that was completely the wrong word. I'm sorry. Buying a portion of your company for less money is an angel investor versus a VC who wants to buy probably about the same portion of your company for more money but more control. VCs, the general response and impression that I have of VCs before I went to the CleanTech Open was that I used to belong to something called TIE, which is the Arizona Indus Entrepreneur, and they had some VCs come down, and the VCs basically gave this spiel: when you're making a lot of money and you don't know me, I'll be happy to invest in you and take control of your company. That was really the impression they gave. They say if you're pulling $50,000 a month and you need capital for maybe expand your product, or there's no risk at all to me, then I'll be happy to invest in you. Of course, if I was pulling $50,000 a month, I probably can go to a bank, and I probably don't need these guys. After going to the CleanTech Academy, the story changes a little bit. I get more of, I'm investing in 10 companies. I'm expecting 8 or 9 of them to fail. And so if you pay off, I want the most control and the most abilities and the most juiciness out of you as I can get. And I want preferential treatment for investing in you. Not completely unreasonable, but they will, they will take as much as you give, and you need to remember that. The only person that can really make you a victim is you, and that's done by lack of being prepared. This is where the CleanTech Open kind of wins. It wins because, in this respect, because you are getting to see the VC give his side of it, or her side. You get to see them in their perspective of what they think is important, and that usually has nothing to do with anything your company is about. It usually has nothing to do with anything you value. It has to do with the return. The return, the money, the market, and how you fit into that piece. Everything else is nothing. It means very little to them. Your mission to save the planet, your mission to help puppies, your mission to do anything other than make money makes nothing. However, you get to see that in here. You get to understand more. You also, another thing that they went over was they started talking a little bit about the crowdfunding, some of the rule changes. Chevron, ironically, is one of the major sponsors of CleanTech Open, so there are symbols in the background. And it kind of makes you think that we're just puppets working for Chevron. It's kind of how it feels. That's not what it is, but just how it felt to me. It was very strange. But I think being able to do a QA with the VCs and for them to talk about how they approach things was very valuable. Tactics and strategy. Now, one of the things that the CleanTech Open does is it lays out, aside from the elevator speeches, aside from exposure on how to talk about funding, they lay out some mild tactics and strategy. You're going to get most of this, meat of this, in the webinars, and I'll talk about those at a different time. But they give kind of a glossy overview, basically the same thing you get when I went to Rapid Startup School, when I went through to get my certificate in entrepreneurial technology, or technology entrepreneurship. Not as in detail because they're limited on time, but and these are done in the form of kind of like game shows. They had one where it was dating match, and then someone was selected by how, I don't know, and they sat and they would give responses to questions and that kind of gimmicky stuff. It made it more entertaining than just sitting in a lecture. But I will be honest, whenever someone does a game show or something like that, it tells me the material really needs dressing up, either for lack of content or lack of understanding how to disseminate the material. When you start song and dancing, either the material is so bone-numbing that you have to do something with it, or your ability to convey that information maybe could use some polish. But it was gimmicky and fun, but I still think it had some value. But be aware that you're going to see that. All right, let's talk about the synopsis at the end of the day. Is this worth it so far? And this is at this point. I haven't gone any further in the webinars. I'll discuss a little bit later. At that point in time, I think it's kind of a 50-50 break-even sort of deal. I think that depending on your level of understanding of how this universe works, you may say, I know all this already, but I think that would be a mistake. I think that the CleanTech Open, like any expensive training system, has a lot of value into it. And granted, what you're doing is you're paying, over $1,000 to go there, not counting lodging and all the other stuff, and you're getting my gigantic hand, and you're getting a lot of people who are volunteering to be there to help you try and succeed in your company. Now, would $1,000 pay for individual consultation of 30 or 40 minutes with each one of these people? Maybe. Getting their time? Probably not. Given how successful they are already, probably not. Could you get someone like them in your area? Maybe. But then that's a lot of effort on your part. In this case, they're all kind of brought together. I think the value for the CleanTech Open Academy lies in the networking, the exposure to the VC, and the time that these people have donated to give, shoot from the hip and give their opinions. You don't know what's going to make your company successful. It's going to be, you have a real general idea, but there's going to be little nuggets that are just going to make it a little easier for you to get over that hill and get to the next stage. And I think that something like this doesn't necessarily have to be CleanTech Open, but I think something like this is beneficial. I just happen to like the CleanTech Open because it's forwarding either clean technology or less polluting technology. And I say that because there's a large collage of people who are trying to get petroleum to work better. They're trying to add things to petroleum, and is that the right way to go? My gut feeling is no. I think that I think petroleum is too valuable to burn, but, opinions vary. You see some neat technologies. There's a guy that had things you put on your feet and ride around, and he got the tagline from the one woman, it puts wings on your feet, and it kind of immediately gives you the vision of Mercury traveling around the city, which was kind of a cool idea. So, that in a nutshell is my feelings on the CleanTech Open Academy. And if there's any questions, please go ahead and get back to me. I'm going to sew all these together, and hopefully this will look good.